Hello to everybody and welcome back to In My Shed. I'm BC. Today's episode is about repowering an old tool and cutter grinder with a motor and spindle from a different machine altogether. I'll bring you in a little bit closer in a minute. This is an old abrasive belt skiving machine. When you make abrasive belts you have to remove the grain and the glue from the top of one end of the belt so that the glue can join that to the other end. This machine has a diamond wheel in a vertical spindle, rise and fall adjustment here. You can angle the head just a little bit, and it has a sliding table on linear bearings. The belt material is put in on the table up against the back edge and run underneath the diamond wheel, and it takes the grit off the top. So I'll bring you in closer. We can have a look at both sides of the machine, why I chose these elements, and it'd be a hell of a good machine to make a Warden style tool and cutter grinder on. Once that's taken away, you could mount a bench grinder on that face, your tools up on top of the sliding table, and you've got the power unit and the sliding action, which are the two main elements in a tool and cutter grinder. But I'm pretty sure that the base and the table will go to Graham and he can make up whatever he wants with it. But I'll bring you in closer and we can have a decent look at the mechanism. It's made in Germany and large on the side of it. The motor is a Schmidt. The quality is superb. I'm glad I've got it. But I'll show you how this is set up, and then I'll show you the grinder it's going on to and all the accessories I've got for it, and that's the main reason I want to do it this way. Okay, we'll move up closer. Here's a look at the, from me, left-hand side of it. You can see a little mechanism right in the middle. That's for tilting the head up and down, and in that plane there's two nuts here, pivot point, and by moving that trunnion you actually set up the angle that the skive is taken at. This gives you rise and fall on the head. A hell of a good spindle mechanism, runs on a flat belt just like a tool and cutter grinder, so that's going to make the conversion a little bit easier. I think I will just be using the side plate and not the whole trunnion assembly, but it will also give me a sub spindle. I'll be able to drop the belt from the main spindle onto a sub spindle, and that will take it further over the table, which is something that you're always looking for on a old Cincinnati type. The early Cincinnatis did not have a tilting workhead, as you'll see in a second, but this will allow me to build that fixture in. Okay, we'll go around the other side of the grinder. You can see just how well built this thing is, probably from the 1970s I'd say, and I acquired it in the late 1980s, 89 or 90, something like that. I was going to start making linear belts. I got this, made a slitter, went as far as getting the heading bars for the press, etc. But then I couldn't buy the jumbo rolls at a competitive price. By the time I put a bit of labour in, I was making the belts for the same price as I could buy it. A little bit of an exclusive club, but anyway, now we're later on in life and I'll be using it for a different purpose. We'll move on to the Cincinnati for a bit of a quick look there. Here is the old girl I'm talking about. Very robust machine. Got a beautiful table that'll swivel right out to 45 degrees. Vernier scale on the other end of the table to set your angle. The electrics are really sad. I would say it's a 1940s machine, 1950 at very latest. Still got oiling cups on the side of the spindle assembly. Well built. The only real damage is to the right hand side as we're looking at it. Handle for the cross slide on the table. Someone's tied it down by that handle and bent the shaft, but I don't think that will be a really big repair. I hate all the electrics. It's all bloody knife type switches, etc. So by repowering it with the skiving power head, I'll mount it up on top of the spindle assembly. It'll make it so much safer with modern electrics. I still have the same rise and fall mechanism that's currently being used on the Cincinnati, and you can see a big T-slot up on top where you can mount wheel shrouds or indexes. I'll use that to mount the plate with two big bolts, two 5/8 bolts. I think that'll be sturdy enough. And I've still got auxiliary slots for wheel guards, etc. to mount it to. So I think it'll be a good modification. And another reason I want to do it is these old machines have got motors that weigh a hell of a lot, but they've got big rotating assemblies that are very, very heavy. And if you should crash a wheel, the machine rigidity and the momentum of the motor ensure you've got an explosion. And if one of these flies apart, man, I'd hate to be near it. it would give you some serious damage. Okay, that's a quick look at the tool and cutter grinder. I'll give you a run over the accessories I've got, and that's one of the main reasons I want to get this old girl up and running. I've got all the bits. That's very rare. Some of the accessories are hidden under that box full of wheels, but I've got 2 sets of table centres and a lever quick action centre. Original grinding vise, which is very, very rare. High-speed spindle, which is just as rare, and the machine is currently fitted with the pulley for that high-speed spindle. Here's something you don't often see, a magnetic chuck to go in the workhead. I don't know what the hell they were doing with this, but it's an unusual setup. I've got the powered workhead for cylindrical grinding, wheel guards. This is the centre gauge. You put that on the table, run that up to the centre of the wheel spindle, and then you can centre the work off that. So it makes it a little bit easier. And I've managed to score a manual for it, very, very old and very well laid out. But when you've got all of the kit that comes normally with the grinder, it makes it much easier to use it. Everything fits, everything goes on the machine. The only thing I will say, the difference between the Cincinnati and the little Rong Fu is the Rong Fu table weighs about 25 kilos and the Cincinnati table about 150 to 180 kilos plus whatever you've got mounted on top of it. So as you reciprocate the table many times on grinding operations, in an hour you'd probably move 3 or 4 tons of steel, and that leads to quite a lot of operator fatigue. They are up on bearings and very, very light to move, but you're still moving all of that steel backwards and forwards. I know that after an hour or 2 of grinding annular cutters on the little Rong Fu, I feel like a bloody mud crab with one big arm. So something as big as this would really have you working. And sitting in behind those accessories, I've got the TOS, and I'll bring you in on that while we're talking about big grinders. The table on this beastie is about 1.4 metres long, and I would say with an accessory mounted on top like a workhead, you're probably looking at 180, 200 kilos. Lovely table stops. It's got a micrometer stop. That is the queen of all tool and cutter grinders in my opinion. It's currently fitted with the high-speed spindle up under the DRO there. Yeah, very good piece of kit. I hope to get that working. I want that big table running because I could leave 3 different setups on there and not have to break things down. Also with a micrometer stop, it could do very, very accurate work, but it'll be another grinder that I'll be stripping all the electrics out and throwing it in the rubbish bin and mount a motor up on top of the workhead, or wheelhead, sorry. Okay, all for now. And I'll just have another item to show you quickly, and it'll be time for lunch. For the younger guys in the audience, they might not recognise what this is. There's still a few available, mainly from USA. You'll pick one up for under $100. It's a planer shaper gauge, and that's why you don't see very many of them. There aren't too many planers or shapers around. I was lucky enough to get this with some accessories. It's one of the better items. It has a fine adjust inside there, so you undo the clamp, the upper block slides on the lower block, and that changes the height of the platforms. You have platform extenders to change the height, and the upper one has a scribing block. Now, one place I've seen these utilised very, very recently was using the scribing block to set the height of a tool on a line boring machine. That could be screwed down onto that platform. You put the base of the planer gauge onto the shaft of the line borer and use this to set the height. And if you want to increase the depth of cut by 1/15 thou, you set that on your table with a micrometer and then take it onto the shaft that you're cutting, push the tool up against the finger, and you've increased it by the correct height. Wonderful tool. You can use it on tool and cutter grinder for a very, very accurate setup. So you've got a lower and an upper step, you've got extensions that you can bolt on, and you've got a scriber, and that can be inverted if need be. A very stable base, comes with a level built in and a flat base. Very, very good tool. I've only got 2. I would like another 2, different sizes of course. Wonderful items. Okay, bye for now. Please like and subscribe.